Hello, and welcome to another episode of Space Marine Legions Explained. Today we have the poster boys of the poster boys, the Blueberries, the Undatables, the Ultramarines. 13th Legiones Astartes, Ultramarines. The Ultramarines stood as one of the most powerful military forces in the Imperium, with an active fighting strength in the region of 250,000 Legiones Astartes, a sector-spanning domain under its overlordship, and an unparalleled supply and training infrastructure that allowed it to withstand losses that might cripple other legions. It be the legion's very strength and the power it could wield that would make it a prime target for the traitorous conspiracy and bring ruination to the 500 worlds of Ultramar. Primogenitor, Roboute Guilliman. Cognomen, Briar. No single cognomen officially recognized. However, several subdivisions of the 13th had gained widely accepted de facto cognomen before unification with the Legion's primogenitor. Reference: the Aurorans, the Nemesis, the Desert Lions, which were later subsumed or discarded. Early Great Crusade informal/antiquated, the Warborn. Observe strategic tendencies, mass assault, targeted decimation, planetary interdiction, liberation and limited theater compliance campaigns. Noteworthy domains: the realm of Ultramar, a semi-autonomous administrative region of the Ultima Segmentum, accorded full rights of governance and master by decree of the Emperor, comprising a division popularly known as the 500 Worlds. Primary Legion headquarters centered on the world of Macragge, strategic command and primary armory, secondary Legion establishments at Armatura, Legion training and indoctrination hub, Konor, forge and secondary armory, and Calth, fleet base under reconstruction and an expansion at the outbreak of the Horus Heresy, several outpost stations and their attendant colonies established beyond the borders of Ultramar during the Great Crusade. Honorum, Alixis, Gathus, Secundus. Allegiance, Fidelitas, Constantus. The Warborn. The 13th drew its first initiates from areas as diverse as the sub-equatorial Maglev clans of Panpokro, the war families of the Saragon Enclave, the proud Medafreak Hive oligarchy, and most latterly, the anthropophagic tribes of the Caucasus wastes. As varied in culture and origin as these groups were, they all had one factor in common: their violent and often bitter resistance to the later stages of unification. A resistance broken ultimately in each case, not by negotiated surrender, but near annihilation. It was this which led to the first informal cognomen by which the 13th Legion was known by the forces alongside which it served, the Warborn. In the Legion's recruits was found a unique balance of aggression and restraint, discipline and determination, which rendered them supremely suited for joint task force operations and cross-theater warfare. The Legion also gained significant success in independent operations, where it took direct command of secondary support forces of the Imperialis Auxilia, whether the professional and elite regiment of the Solar Auxilia or the Terran regiments of the Old 100. The 13th Legion's campaigns during the Great Crusade would only further add to its growing reputation of peerless strategic ability, the Legion bringing human worlds to heel without the heavy-handed extermination favored by some of its brother legions. In fact, the warriors of the 13th avoided battles of attrition and prided themselves on achieving strategic goals with the minimum expenditure of life, and where salvageable human worlds were involved. This desire was also extended to the minimization of collateral damage. The burgeoning 13th Legion was soon considered a brotherhood of heroes of the fledgling Imperium. Doctrines of the Ultramarines. The 13th Legion operated under a strict hierarchy where each warrior's responsibilities and duties were known at all times. Roboute Guilliman had overall command of the Legion, deciding its disposition and strategic objectives, as well as taking command of whichever fleet or war zone he was present in. Beneath the Primarch were the Chapter Masters, each of whom led approximately 10,000 warriors and a contingent of Ultramar's Void Fleet. Assisting them were the cadre of senior officers and commanders, the Legatii, each chapter of the Legion containing 10 companies of 1,000 Legiones Astartes commanded by a captain, who was responsible for the tactical deployment, efficiency, and training of his warriors. Alongside the conventional order of battle with which the Ultramarines operated, several unique formations stood wholly apart from the traditional structure. The Evocati chapters were the training grounds of the Legion, comprising 2 double-strength chapters composed of both raw recruits from across Ultramar, as well as Corps of War hardened veterans. Where other legions blooded the neophyte warriors at the forefront of their campaigns, Guilliman assigned them first to a tour of defensive operations within the borders of Ultramar, in conclusion to a rigorous training regime which favoured both practical battle experience and more rigorous and more lengthy cerebral conditioning and mimetic implantation than most other legions undertook. The Ultramarines recruited constantly from their realm and beyond, and many Evocati would not be deemed worthy to become legionaries. Of these, the most promising aspirants joined the Vigil Operatii, Roboute Guilliman's covert police force, who suppressed rebellion within the 500 worlds and acted as civil enforcers under the military regime to maintain political stability. A later development, but of equal importance, were the Invictari, a veteran cadre who served both as a Legion elite and as a pool of warriors who through their actions had singled themselves out for potential future high command, not simply by bravery or skill at arms, but also for displaying a talent in governance, organization, and administration. The most famed and potent of these elite subformations were the Invictaris Suzerain, which formed the retinues of the 5 Tetrarchs of Ultramar, chapter masters and regiments of the most strategically crucial king worlds of Ultramar, and functioned as both a military force for the defense of that fiefdom, arbiters of law for the population, and an honor guard for their commander in battle. The individual forces of the Suzerain Invictaris varied in size, with Tetrarch Amintus maintaining a force of several thousand as fierce peacekeepers in the troubled worlds around EX, while Tetrarch Lamayad had but 100 in his guard, partly in defense to the Mechanicum warriors who stood in Konor's defense and needed little aid in doing so. Members of the Invictari could also be found in limited numbers spread out through the Legion's veteran units and stratus of command. Through the Remembrances and Iterators, the Ultramarines are portrayed as paragons of the Imperium. However, the complexities of the Legion's diverse and antagonistic relationship with many of its fellow legions, and its insolitary and supercilious mien during the Great Crusade, is often forgotten or concealed. It would be this hidden history that was to bear bitter fruit on Calth and cast a shadow over Ultramar during the Horus Heresy. The Primarch, Roboute Guilliman. Unlike so many of his kin, the Primarch of the Ultramarines was born to be a king. The adopted son of Conor Guilliman, from whom he took his name, rose quickly to prominence on Macragge, a cold and forbidding planet. Macragge was nonetheless a place of wondrous natural beauty and bred a hardy and proud people. In years to come, it would become the heart of the Ultramarines' Eastern Empire, and its people would fill the ranks of the Legion's battle companies. By the time the Emperor was reunited with Roboute Guilliman, the Primarch had already transformed the world in which he found himself, and was looking beyond the horizon to expand the reach of his armies. From Roboute's ambitions and desires, the realm of Ultramar was created. A human empire like few others in the galaxy, with hundreds of worlds experiencing an unparalleled time of peace and prosperity under his stewardship. An obsessive strategic and administrator, Roboute Guilliman possessed a powerful analytical intelligence, as well as a talent for statecraft and macro-organization of staggering potential. As swiftly as he put his plans for Ultramar into action, he embarked on the root and branch reorganization of his legion. He impressed his own values and talents upon the Space Marines under his command, espousing a dual doctrine which embraced in parallel the ancient and deterministic values of the warrior: courage, discipline, skill, and adaptability, defined as that which was practical, and on the other, planning, precedent, analysis, and assessment, defined as that which was theoretical. Both were of equal weight and value, one complementing and informing the other, blending together as the metals which made a fine blade. This became the Legion's doctrine, and its creed developed over the course of the Great Crusade, and later codified by the Lord of Macragge in his magnum opus, the Codex Astartes. This has been the Ultramarines of the Great Crusade. Thank you for watching.